Gators of the Majestic Rider. So today I'm here with Roosevelt again. This is the Missouri Foxtrotter who didn't really foxtrot. So we're gonna show you what we got so far. And I've mostly been riding on the road, not so much in the arena. I have some poles over there and I'm gonna use those. I'm gonna use the poles if he starts getting step pacey. So this is just a regular trail walk. This is going to be his flat walk. Turn on the forehand. Good job, buddy. Now we're going to flat walk this way. He's actually getting a little trotty, not step pacey right now. So if he's getting trotty, I put my weight back and I'm going to bring his head up a little bit. If they get pacey, you can tilt your pelvis forward to try to put more weight on their front end and bring their head down and kind of round their back out. In the end, I'm trying to get him just to gait on more of a floppy rein, but it takes time to get the horse there, and usually a fair amount of time before you can do that. You're trying to keep the same football and the same speed. Now we're going to work at the foxtrot. Keep my weight a little bit back to help him stay out of the trot. If he starts pacing, then I'm going to do the opposite, bring his head down and bring my pelvis a little bit forward. this horse has lots of talent, so you'll see he can pace, he can step pace, he can foxtrot. And since we haven't been doing it in the arena, he keeps falling into those gaits though. So you do have to be able to feel when they're doing those different gaits to do the correction. So if he's pacey, I'm going to tilt a little forward, bring his head down. If he's trotty, I'm going to sit down, bring his head up. If I'm by a pole and he gets pacey, I'm going over the pole. If he's trotty and I'm going by a pole, I'm not going to go over the pole. So it depends what the horse is doing on what you do up in the saddle. And you have to ride them with a fair amount of contact in the beginning so you can tell them what to do. Otherwise, if they're on loose floppy reins, they're going to keep changing and just let the terrain pick what they're doing and where your weight is. So you have to use your weight to help them. You have to use your contact. And you know, the more you have the feel of the correct gait, the more you're going to be able to help your horse. If you have no idea what it feels like, then that's very hard to help your horse, because he might be step pacing and you think he's doing a foxtrot. And I see a lot of people do that, and then you do the wrong correction for it. So you know, you might think he's trotting when he's pacing, or you might think he's pacing when he's trotting, and if you give the wrong correction, then you just make it worse. So it's helpful to have someone on the ground to tell you if you don't know if you're doing the right thing, or to videotape it and then stop and then check it so you can make yourself better and you can see what's going on. So we're going to try and do a little bit more of it. But you'll see now that we're going a different direction, the arena's slanted a different way. So in some areas more trotty, some areas more pacey, because the terrain and the slope of the land is making him go more towards those gaits. So it changes a lot. And again, the more talented the horse is, the more they can trot, and the more they can pace, they can do both of those things. It makes it very hard for the rider, because you got to figure out what to do exactly when, or you can't make that correction. So some of the foxtrotters can do that. A lot of the Rockies pace and trot, and people have lots of problems with them not staying in gait, because usually nobody said it, or they've done some weird things to get the gait, and then the new owner doesn't know how to ride them, and so the horse keeps going out of gait and does what's easiest for him. Okay, all right, so let's take a little break. So when this horse came to me, he could canter on his right lead. He had a nice canter, but he can canter on his left, so we're going to work on the left. You'll see as I went over some of the poles, he tried to canter over them. So if I can't get the canter, I might use the pole to help me. To get his left lead, I'm going to have my weight to the outside, half halt, say the word canter, and S with my right leg. And as he canters, he has a real rocking horse canter. What I'm going to try to do is half halt as he's kind of coming up, sink down deep, and use a little leg so he keeps going. it takes a lot of energy for them to canter, especially when they do that rocking horse canter. It takes a lot of strength. So I just canter 1 or 2 circles. Now I'm going to give them a break, and then I'm going to try again in a minute. And again, this is sloping. I'm kind of cantering downhill a little bit, so it's not the best, but this is where I could get the camera up. So we're going to try it again. And over there, he kind of drifts, and that's where he'll pop his lead, or in other words, he will lose his lead behind and cross canter because he drifts over there. So I stop when he's doing it well, and when he's got that more uplifting canter. This horse is only 3.5 years old, and you might say, well, how'd you get him to do that? I didn't. It's natural for him. I'm helping him and guiding him, but he can actually do that naturally. And that's that other video I saw you, the horse's natural gait. So I knew he was going to have a pretty nice canter, right? So again, if when you canter them in the round pen, they're pacing, cross cantering, they're spastic, or they can't canter at all, you'll be able to get them to canter, but it's gonna take a fair amount of effort to get it. So that's the difference. And some of those horses have a great gait but not a great canter. So sometimes you don't have it all, but you can always work on it and make it much better. So I'm going to switch my stick into the outside hand because it'll help me to turn him. Also, if he doesn't pick it up, like there, he kind of trotted into it, then I can tap him with my stick to get him try to canter right off. Otherwise, he did pretty good. That's his better lead. And again, we haven't been in the arena. I've cantered some on the trail on both leads because I was trying to get more trail mileage on them because they're not going to ride him in the arena a bunch. Okay, we'll do one more time, buddy. So I can feel he's pretty tired, so that's why I'm quitting. I don't want to wear him out, and I don't want him to not want to do this again. It's hard when they have a nice canter like this. It's fun. You want to keep going, but then they don't want to do it anymore. So his canter departure was a little bit better. I did give him a little tap with the stick. And again, for not being in here, he did a great job today. So remember, quit when they're doing a good job, not when they're doing a bad job. And quit when you're ahead. Don't overdo it, because if you keep pushing it, the horse is going to get tired, and either their gait or their canter is going to get worse. And then when you quit, it's on a bad note, and then the horse, doesn't understand what he was actually supposed to do. So take your time. Remember, your horse has natural ability. So what you can get from that, you can get a fair amount from that, but then you can also make it better. And just remember, when you're riding the gaits, you can also use your body weight and the horse's headset and what they're doing with their back to help them to get that correct gait. So if you're trying to get a foxtrot, the horse usually has to be rounded out. If you're trying to get a step pace, the horse usually has to be inverted. If they're doing a flat walk or a running walk, usually their back's kind of neutral. So I'll touch on those things hopefully another time. But that's it for today. I think he did great.